First of all, get your character in Blender first. If you don't know how to do that, I already made a video about it. Link will be in description. I recommend you to use a higher version of Blender to animate it. Because we set it up the model in the 3.6, right? But for animation I use 5.0. Before we start, save your file first and enable autosave. It will save your life. I'll try to not to cut too much in this video so you can follow along. This is the reason why I recommend to use a higher version of Blender, because when you click the armature and go to this data tab, it will show you a better UI than the 3.6 one. To start to use the bone, you need to select the armature and go to pose mode. In the data tab, you can start to isolate the layers that you only need. Those extra layers that are not gonna be animated, you can just hide it. You can also rename your layer and organize it to ease you the process later. After you're done isolating the layer that you're gonna animate, we can start to add our camera. Now go back to object mode and Shift A to add a camera. You can set up your camera like I do in this video, but you can just set up by yourself. Maybe you want a different angle. Let's just make this scene a vertical one. Next, you need a reference to animate. You can try to animate without reference, but it will be hard because you have to imagine how the character will move in real life. So it's better to get a reference for your animation. If you didn't find any reference online, you can just record yourself and put it here. There are a few ways to insert a reference in here. The first one by adding a camera background image. This reference is from a YouTube video on 50 ways how to jump. I will give you the link in the description. Another method that I always use is just to drag and drop your reference video in the Blender. It's a good practice to start your animation at least 40 frames forward, because sometimes you have hack or close simulation that you need the physics to be settled down first, but we're not gonna do that in this video. So it's just a good practice, but you can start whenever you want in this tutorial. You can align your reference and character like this, so it will be easier for you to start to follow it later. After that, select your armature again and go to pose mode, because we're gonna start moving our character. There's a feature here where you can move your bone with the other side too. It's called a mirror. Basically, if the mesh is symmetrical, it can be move by the same time. But sometimes it can be annoying, but for the keyframe we're gonna use this one first because it will be easier for us and we're gonna refine it later. Just make the reference as the same size as your character so you can get the idea how the character will move later. If you have a bigger screen or want an extra view of this viewport, you can go to up here. When your cursor start to be a plus icon, you can drag it to make it a separate window. You can close it by right click in the middle of the separation and click join area. What I like to do is to drag down here and change it to viewport and change to material preview, because this will be my reference because I'm gonna move my camera with different angle to animate it later. Now we can move our camera angle in the main window and we still can view the camera angle. Now you can start to move your character's part to align it with the reference. You can see now his hand is right here, so rotate the elbow. You can start to positioning your hand as the reference, and I recommend you to keep the mirror one on because it will be easier for you now, but it maybe looks too symmetrical, but we can fix it later. Now this doesn't have to be perfectly the same as the reference because the reference is just to give you the idea how the animation will work. After that, select all of your bone, press A and right click and insert keyframe. This is our first frame. What I like to do here is to turn the auto key because every time I move it will automatically make a key, but it sometimes can be annoying, so always remember that you on it and maybe there's a time that you need to make it off. So yeah, now we can start to search our keyframe. Basically the frame where the character is about to move, like this one, right? The character is about to jump up. A frame before it, we can place our keyframe there. If it hurts to you to see the reference, you can just duplicate it and place it somewhere else where you can see it clearly. See here, every time I move it will place the keyframe, so sometimes it can be annoying. Now select your armature and go to pose mode again and start to align your character based on the key point, the keyframe basically, as the character is about to do a move. This one, the character is about to jump and we take a frame before it and we place our character here. just remember to not to stretch his hand because it will look weird. It doesn't have to be perfectly matched, but it just that have you get the same position. And after that we can move to the second keyframe or key point, what should I call it? Now here you can see the character in the air, but he's just about to move back down, so a frame before it. Now just do the same and remember to not to stretch your character's body part. But stretching is actually some of the animation technique to make the animation smooth, but for this is not an animation tutorial. This is just how to use the rig. If you are a professional animator later, you will use the stretching one to make it look more cartoony, you know. As you can see, one of his hand is higher but another one is lower, because we cannot do that now because we turn out the mirror, so we're just gonna do it later. This is just for the key point. And if you run out a problem that you don't know what's happening with your bone, right? Like this one, I don't know what happened with his fingers, so what I'm gonna do is just select the bone that you think that are causing this and go to item. You just do it 0 here and 1 there, and in here all 0. You can start, if it's not back to normal, you can just select another bone and replace this value. You can see it as it's the same as the original one, so you can move it back. Now we can move to our next key point. Here, look at this, when the character is about to going up, so we take a frame before it. Now you can start to placing back your character at the position. But when you use mirror and auto key, it sometimes only happen for one part only, so you need to press G or R or S to make it move at the part and insert your keyframe. It doesn't have to be perfect, you know. Now let's go to the next keyframe and start to positioning our character here. Like the leg part, right? It doesn't match the other part because even though we turn the mirror on, because you need to readjust it to make it move, and then the keyframe will be added. Now sometimes it can be a bit different from the reference, because sometimes the actor can be far away from the camera or maybe getting close, and the size will be a bit different, so don't worry about that. Now let's preview what we have now. Looks weird, right? But we can start to fix it now. To fix it, you need to go in between the key point and start to positioning your character at the right way. For example, this one, right? The leg didn't even move yet in the reference, but our character has already moved his leg. So we can make that the leg start to move at the same frame as the reference, and you can start to look at the frame where there are so different in movement. For example, this one, the hands didn't move yet, but our character already moved in, so we can place the keyframe before the hand move. For example, this scene, right, where the reference hand already wide open, but our hand didn't yet open that much, so we can start to move the hands to mimic our reference. Now this leg, before the it start to jump, you notice that the foot is like this. You can start to move frame by frame. And start to repair the part that look really different from the reference. Let's see what we have. Much better than the before, right? If you want to get the smoother animation, you can go through all the frame and manually fix it. Now for the face part. I usually do the face part at the after the body part because sometimes the eyes align is a bit different. So yeah, you can control the eyes, the mouth, and the eyebrow using this slider by clicking it and press G. Make sure you are in a pose mode, not object mode. But one thing always remember that to put keyframe before you move, because if not, they will start the moment at the beginning of the scene. I always forgot about that. So you can just like undo the things here. Just slide back to its original position. This is the control for the eyeball. If you click this big circle, it will control both, but if you click only one of it without turning the mirror on, you can move it only one eyeball. Now we are basically done with the animation and start to render. You can turn on motion blur if you want to make it look like more smoother, but it will eat up your processing power, so make sure your laptop or PC can handle it. Before you render, make sure to turn this reference off first. If we just drag and drop, it will default as empty, so just use empty and disable the render. The camera one is for render, the eye one is for viewport. We can only see it here, but when we render it's not there. Now we can start to reveal our camera. I forgot that I hide it. So H is for hide, Alt H is to unhide it. Now we can delete the background image because we didn't use it. Now most of the time we will use EV because this is not a Go engine, but later I will show you how to use Go engine. You can choose your color correction here, color management, but for me the best work for me is the AGX and medium high contrast. I think this is the perfect for me lah. You can keep the sample low. No, ray tracing you didn't need because we didn't change anything here, so the frame rate remains at 24. If you want a 4K version of your video, you can just multiply this by 2, the X and the Y, but it will take a bit more time to render, but the resolution will be high. The quality will be so good, but it will take time to render. Okay. If you use image PNG sequence, just remember that always turn the RGBA on because it will store the transparency. And also go to render settings and go to film, set it to transparent. Most of the time we will use image sequence, PNG sequence, because it can remain the transparent background. If you don't know how to use image sequence, you can just render it as video, but I'm not sure if I don't think it store the transparent background. The good things about render it as image sequence, because sometimes Blender will crash, and if it crash in the mid of your render, you can crash out. So if you use image sequence, at least it has rendering some frame before, so if it crashes, you can just continue it at the frame that the Blender start to crash, and you don't need to render it back from the beginning. After you select your render settings, go to render and render animation. It will take times, but yeah, just wait. I use After Effects for video editing, but you can use other software as well. And this is the tutorial on how to use the image sequence in After Effects by selecting any frame and make sure the PNG sequence is turned on. After that, right click your footage and go here and set the frame rate as the frame rate that we rendered in Blender. We rendered it 24, so place it 24. This is the extra tip for blinking eyes. So this is the eye controller that you can use to control the eye. Make the characters blink. Remember to select all of this first and insert a keyframe. Now go a few frame, not too much, and play with this slider to make it, looks like he's closing his eyes. Everything that seems right to you is okay. Select all of that and copy the first frame and paste it here to make it blink. Now you have your blink animation. You can copy the keyframe and paste it somewhere that you want the character to blink in.